Now is the time. A time you'll look back on. A time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time. This moment, right now. Motivate yourself towards success. Overcome. Take over. The time is now.
It's that time again. It's showtime. All right, lads.
Even there.
I do.
I'm not going to ask how anybody is because I know everyone is a bit shit. So we'll carry on and we'll make the best of it. No Chris tonight. Chris is busy working. Pete, it looks like he's done 10 rounds with Dan Lawless, and he kind of did yesterday. But shout out to Dan. He put up a good fight. Great sport, and some great chat in that the 12th man with Dan, wasn't it, Pete?
Yeah, good show. Good to get other people's perspectives on Newcastle. Let's say some are not very happy, and I just appreciate everyone who's in the chat. Back in Newcastle, because I think we drummed home the message that we're not going anywhere, and we're here to stay. So very, very good. But I've had to side the brandy for water tonight. I'm not 100%, so I apologise.
Nice one. And Richie, great to see you as well.
All right, mate.
Right, let us get into it.
That's
it. Yeah,
I don't think we really go into the issues on this end. Do you know what I mean?
No.
How's the hedgehog?
I don't know. Yano's asking now. He's just wanting to know who's for the late. Is it your wig? Is it Pete's Bradley, Chris's lipstick, or my hedgehog? So we'll do a poll. We'll send out the two polls and see if they'll put it out for us later on.
We'll do a poll. Right. We've got some guests in the green room, so and there's some debutants as well, because I don't recall these lads coming on here before. So let's get them on. First off, we'll bring on Billy. Welcome, Billy.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're all well.
Welcome to Billy.
Welcome.
Yes, definitely my debut on this channel. Certainly is. But I'm pleased to be here. Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Nice one, Billy. And we also have Toon Stato. It's Alex.
How's it going, guys? Evening.
Hey, Alex.
How's things?
Yeah, very good, very positive. Looking forward to Southampton. Even more so, looking even one game ahead. I'm looking forward to the Chelsea one as well, possibly more than the Southampton one, but one step at a time.
Definitely.
Nice. And the cup game in between, just to keep it interesting.
Well, we know he's going to play a strong team. He always does. So, fingers crossed. We don't have a hiccup.
Do you guys think he's going to play a strong team? Do you not think? Like the Frasers and the one or two others that have been on the peripheries, Mankilios, do you think they're going to be annoyed?
I think there might be a little bit of rotation, but every time I keep falling into the trap, especially during that congested period we've just had. We all kept predicting, right, this is the game for rotation. This is the game for and it just never happened. He was like, nah, we're just no. Murphy, Joe Linton, they're all staying, Longstaff staying in, Burns staying in, Target's not starting. It just didn't rotate. So I'm just going to go with that. He seems to be breaking everything I seem to know about football. So I'm just going to go with Eddie Howe and the coaching staff. And I'm just going to assume he's going to play at least 80%, maybe 90% of the same team. But it'd be nice for some other lads to get some minutes. I'd like to see Anderson and maybe Target. I've forgotten how Target plays football. It's been so long, to be fair.
I think Target will play, and I think Maxi will play as well as part of his kind of rehabilitation.
True.
And that'll make him maybe match it for the Chelsea game.
Good call. Good call. Or we could even see him in the Southampton game as well, of course, because one of the topics I was going to bring up, we might as well go to it now, is with those two games, the Southampton game and the Chelsea game and the cup game in between. For the Southampton game, Joe Linton's going to be missing, so he will, after picking up 5 cards. Cheers to NUFC 360 for the pictures or them. But so who do you think is going to sit in there on Sunday for the Southampton game?
Personally, I think Murphy will come in. I think Murphy will step straight into the left-hand side, and Willock will play as well as Longstaff and Guimaraes. I think Murphy's done enough to have a start. Maxi probably isn't fully fit yet. He'll probably get half an hour, but I think Jacob Murphy will step right in on the left-hand side.
Murphy. Okay. Anyone else think? Anyone else?
I've got to agree with Billy. I think it'll be Murphy. I think it's a little bit too early for Maxi, as Billy's mentioned already. You might see Fraser come in, but obviously the fact he's been starting Murphy ahead of him in recent weeks, it's the obvious shout with Willock just staying in the middle with Longstaff and Bruno.
I think there's an outside chance Maxi starts because it's away. He likes to bring players back away from home. He could just role reverse it. He could let Maxi have an hour and then bring Murphy on. But I think it's more likely he starts Murphy. But you never know with how. It's always, every time the lineup comes out, we're like, oh, really? Okay. And then we win. So who am I to judge?
Exactly. And even if he told you, would you really believe him? Because he doesn't give anything away. No. A bit of a debate that you had last night, Pete, but I won't get into that.
Just a bit. But no, I'm. To be fair, it could go either way, but I wouldn't be totally against Maxi starting and getting 60 minutes under his belt, with then a view to him actually starting again and playing maybe a full 90 against Palace. I just think if I was Alan St. Maximin, I'd be wanting to play as soon as I could because he's missed so much football this season, and I think there'll probably be an element of that as well. He's not making the World Cup squad. In fact, he's not in the World Cup squad, and he's going to have a month break. So why not give him as many minutes as possible, in the right way, of course, to get him back on the pitch, because he is a match winner. And look, let's be honest. Southampton, the way they're playing at the moment, they're there for the taking, and someone like him could just absolutely destroy Southampton on Sunday.
Yeah. I'd be happy with either. Like I'd like to see Maxi in the back and see what he can do again, because we've missed him. I've missed seeing him play just because he can produce that bit of magic. But Murphy, it's any day now. It has to come good for him. He's hitting the post. His luck has to turn. So it could be that Southampton game, and who knows what could happen if we get Murphy firing. He could be the next Almiron.
To be fair, I don't know what you guys think. Actually, I'll ask this to all of you. He could have potentially been our Almiron with the amount of chances he's hit the post or the bar with. Last season into this season, like the amount of chances he's missed that you probably would have expected him to score. He could have been that guy, and we could have been talking about him so differently. I don't know what you think about that.
I'll just go back to that.
Was recruited in the first place, wasn't there? There was obviously something there.
I'll just go back to that last-minute chance of Vicarage Road last year. Then that put me off him for such a long time. It really did. Why was he trying to chip him there? It was ridiculous. And hitting the post as regularly as he does when he should have scored on some occasions, but Saturdays was a fantastic effort. He has improved immensely over the past 6 weeks. And I actually was a bit sorry for him to get dropped. That's why I'd play him Sunday, because I think he's next tax on the rank. Maxi aside, obviously. If Maxi was fit, he'd be playing. But yeah, I felt sorry for Murphy getting dropped when he did. But obviously, Eddie Howe knows better, and we've got the results to prove it. So yeah, that's football.
Yeah, and if I recall, the last time we played Southampton, Walker Peters had a brilliant game. So let's hope he is quiet come.
He's
Sunday.
injured. He's injured, Daz.
All the better. Yeah.
I love him. I do. He for me, if we get rid of Kraft and Mankiller in the summer, Carl Walker-Peters with Southampton getting relegated, fingers crossed, we get him in for a nominal fee. Brilliant. Plays right back, left back, lightning quick. I always go back to the game where Bruno Guimaraes scored his first goal, that back heel goal. For the first 40, 50 minutes of the game, he destroyed us on the left-hand side. He's playing left back. He absolutely destroyed us. He's a top player. And you know what? He'd get into Tottenham's team right now. They're crying out for him.
And we do need some fullbacks, to be fair. We will, well, not right now, but we will need a bit more with Manquillo and Richie and Dummett. There's a lot of sort of the bottom ends to clear out. No disrespect to the people who have given us good service, but if they're not playing, even in the rotation minutes, then what's the point? You know.
Absolutely right. 100%.
Cool. Richie, I'm going to go to you first because I know you're busy and the comments has gone mental. So I'm going to go to you, get your opinion on this. Miggy, player of the month. Happy with that?
It was without question, wasn't it? It was. He's just been exceptional this month. To be fair, I think we discussed it briefly on Sunday. Since some of the end of last season, when you start you look for like the Palace game and just a little bit before that, you could see his performance starting to improve, and then he hit the ground running during pre-season, scoring 6 goals in pre-season, and then he's just everyone was saying, "Oh, well, he's not going to continue with during the season," and he has, and he's just got better as he's gone on throughout the season, and he's just topped off with. To be fair, it's probably the perfect month you could ask for, because it looks like the way the award ceremonies are going to go for the Premier League, you're going to have manager of the month, player of the month, and goal of the month all in Newcastle. So it's nice to have a potential clean sweep there, because I can't, it's obviously Miggy's going to get player of the month because he's been exceptional. He's going to have goal of the month. He's going to have at least three of the goals in, then by the looks of it. And obviously Toon is already asking people which goal to get behind when it comes out. And we've got the performance record in October. So that's surely got to go down to Eddie Howe as manager of the month. So I think it's fantastic times, as we all know, supporting the club. And hopefully we can finish off these 2 games solidly like we have been the rest of October. And look forward to the end of the World Cup, basically, and starting off again in December.
Awesome. Billy, go to you. Happy with Miggy, and also, what are you picking for your goal of the month? Here's a few contenders.
Right, first we'll take the goal of the month one. The Everton and the Villa one are the same goal, virtually. The Spurs one is a fantastic finish, but my favourite is the Fulham one, because the technique he showed to finesse volley over into the top corner was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Never seen anyone do it. Van Basten, obviously, when he volleyed his goal against Rishwa in 88, who hits his with power. This was a finesse one. It was subtlety, it had technique, it had everything. So for me, the Fulham one's the best goal. And as for Miggy's performances, they've been nothing short of sensational, have they? Let's be honest. I was one of the people that thought he wasn't physical enough to play in the Premier League. Certainly as a number 10, that position on the right hand side, he's made it his own. He's cutting inside. No one can get in. Everyone knows what he's going to do. They still can't stop him. So when defenders know what he's going to do and still can't stop him, then he's doing something special. So yeah, Miggy for me, definitely player of the month in the Premier League. Can't think of anyone who could touch him really this month. Last month, I should say. So yeah, the lad's flying at the minute, and long may continue, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Billy. He used to frustrate me, but he was starting so far back that by the time he got near the goal, he was like out of juice, and his shots were weak and tame and not hitting the target or just trickling into the goalkeeper's hands. But Alex, same questions for you, and I'll throw another one. When do they announce the manager of the month, or when do they give it to Eddie Howe?
I'm not sure when these things come out. I've been checking. I saw Callum Wilson got a Team of the Week card in FIFA, so at least somebody's getting some recognition. So I'll be straight on that. I don't know how Miggy's not got anything on FIFA or any football games for that matter. So I don't know when they're announced. I'll have to keep my eyes open for that.
I think I saw something today. It's around about the 9th, I think.
Oh God, I think we've got the England squad on the 10th or 11th, haven't we? So it's all gonna come crashing down all at the same time.
Yeah.
And as for the goal, it's got to be the Fulham one, because in my opinion, the other 3, as magical as they are worked on in the training pitch, sort of rushing forward and bending it with your strong foot, or a one-on-one situation with the keeper. Those are worked on to a level, whereas the Fulham goal is not worked on. They don't go, Miggy, he's a funny ball over the top. Just boot that in the top corner with a funny half. No, they will work on something to a point, but not that. That doesn't get practice. That's just pure instinct and just they talk about the 10,000 hours to master things. That is a master of his trade. Just knows exactly where the ball's going to drop, just the timing, where he's positioned, where the passes come from, where the goal is, with a goalkeeper. It's just all instinct. It's based on thousands of hours of practice, and just being a good player, because he's doing both. He's getting instinctive finishes and he's getting well practiced finishes in with his improved game. It's just outstanding. He's doing a bit of everything.
It's like what Billy said, wasn't it, Alex? It's you look at the Everton goal and the Villa goal, they're very similar in technique and placement, and this. But the Fulham one, it's instinct. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you can't practice those things. I know everyone's been talking about it being like Van Basten, but to me, it was more of like, can you remember Di Canio's volley that he did for West Ham? I thought it was more like that, where obviously that was a longer ball in, but a similar sort of volley, but up on the other side. So that's how I thought. It's one of those goals where you just you can't.
English players don't score those goals. No? I mean, occasionally, but it's very much a South American thing with the way they grow up and the street football and the just the whole culture. We don't play that kind of way growing up, and you get that sort of ingrained in your style, regardless of what age you are. You have these little things that you always come back to. That's why we don't see English players typically doing things like that. I mean, we've had a few more interesting, exciting players in recent times. A lot more are sort of with, your Fodens and stuff can do things that are a little bit more outrageous. And there are a few floating around nowadays, but, we've always had a different style of player. It's definitely a South American thing. The fact that it was another South American that played the ball over the top for him and Bruno just says it all.
There's only been one Englishman I've seen that could do that goal, and that was Glenn Hoddle. He's the only person I've ever seen that could do that goal. Englishman. He was phenomenal.
I agree, Jay. Yeah, it's an English person. I used to do that myself, but I'm Irish. I used to do that in national school. Yeah, so there's a difference. But yeah, and I agree with the selections, and I'm going to go to you as well, Pete, for your thoughts. But yeah, Miggy's goal for me against Fulham is the one. It's not a Van Basten, it's not a Canio. It's a Miggy. They'll all be trying to do a Miggy from now on. But Pete, your thoughts on Anthony Miggy related? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, my bad. I think it's a resounding yes in terms of the Fulham goal, no doubt about it. The technique was unreal. But the one thing I'll say from Miggy's is don't underestimate the goal that he scored against Everton. It's an outstanding finish for one reason, is that it was a first-time finish. To put the ball into the corner the way he did, off a pass without taking the touch, it's not easy. And you look at that picture there that you just put on the screen, Daz. It's not like he's got all the time in the world. There's players in and around him. So he's had to do that and think quick. That first time finish was unbelievable. So for me, that one probably gets underrated more than any other. But for me, the technique and to be able to do that first time, if someone's fizzing a ball into you, your natural reaction is to take a touch, then play the ball or shoot or whatever it is. The fact that he's just done that from instinct, bang, first time, and beat the keeper. That's why it's beat the keeper. That's why it beat Pickford. Not just because he's got little arms, because he has, but on top of that, it's because the keeper didn't have time to set himself, because he wasn't expecting him to take the shot as early as he did. I think if he takes a touch, I don't think he scores, because I think Pickford shifts across and manages to get to the ball. But really, really good finish. But it just shows you the magnitude of the player. Is not only is he playing well, not only is he scoring goals, but he's scoring some goals that will be up there for goal of the season if it was any other player. And he's done it all in a month. That for me is just shows you the measure of how much he's improved as a player. Unreal.
Richie, I'm going to go to you and go to the chat. Is there any kind of comments or questions in the chat we want to bring up at this stage?
Not really, not. It's more for like towards the end of the show that I've got started at the minute, mate. So just you want to move on to the next topic.
Cool. Right. Next question, and I want to go to Alex here first. Alex, we come to the January transfer window. We bring in a midfielder, winger, whatever you have yourself. We spend a bit of money in them. What do we do with Elliot Anderson, where he's not getting a game now, or he's getting only a few minutes, and even last weekend he didn't get on the bench? What are you going to do with him?
That's a big question. It's something that I was actually going to research this weekend, because they are changing the rules on loans. I think that it's expected to change at some point in regards to not being able to do 6-month loans within England. I can't remember when all that kicks off. I don't think it's yet, so I think we might be able to do a 6-month loan in January if we wanted to loan him out. It does depend. I think a lot depends on these next 3 games. You never know what could happen if Maxi has a reoccurrence of his injury, or Elliot Anderson comes on for half an hour against Palace and scores or gets a double. You never know. Anything can change, and then he might force his way into getting a few more sub minutes, jump in front of Fraser. You never know what might happen to Miggy either. I'm saying a lot of negative things that let's touch on just in case.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think that the best course of action would be to loan him out again. I think all intentions were to try and give him minutes, and it's just not quite worked out that way. And the fact that we're in 4th, having not given him minutes, I think justifies the decision to not give him minutes, because we're in 4th. So, but he needs to develop. He needs to play games. I think he needs to go to at least a challenging championship side. Hopefully he could get minutes in a team, but he needs to go for a strong team that plays positive football to a level, maybe not the same style as we do or the same formation, but he needs to be playing in a positive team that aren't fighting at the bottom end of the league. I want him to get a good amount of experience, and the championship would give him a lot of games. So my decision, if I had to choose, I would say one of 3 or 4 teams somewhere towards the top end of the championship, if they would take him, if they'd give him minutes. I'm sure that's why we've brought people in like Dan Ashworth to try and build those connections, because we had this conversation many moons ago that we never had any friends. We weren't friends with any clubs. We didn't have any connections or networks. All of these clubs around us had all got these little friendly deals that they could do, and we just had nobody. I think we had a bit with Sheffield Wednesday once upon a time, and then what else was there? We
took Bruce from them then, and they never forgave us.
Well, yeah.
Do you not mean we didn't forgive them?
Yeah, I know.
Well, they're in League One now, so I'm sure that we got the better end of that deal, didn't? But yeah, loan him out, I'd say.
Would anyone take going down the road to Middlesbrough with Michael Carrick taking over? Because I watched them, saw the highlights of them against Hull last night, and looked a completely different side. And I can imagine that's the way he's going to want them playing going forward. So would anyone see him just go down the road to Middlesbrough?
Looks like an ideal move, doesn't it? Doesn't have to move house or anything. He's got a footballing coach coaching him. So yeah, it'd be an ideal move for him, I think, if he wants to go on loan. I'd have him in the squad ahead of Fraser, if I'm perfectly honest. I think he ticks more boxes than Fraser. He can play in the middle also. He can cover Willock if he's injured, or any of the number 8s. So I'll be tempted to keep him because he could be getting minutes either wide or in the middle of the park. So I'll be tempted to keep him. But if
if we sign 2 players.
Yeah, if we sign 2 players, then he's going to be well down the pecking order. So yeah, I think a loan deal would be good for him. But he's going to be our player next season. I think he's going to be a special player as well. So one for the future, absolutely.
He's a first team player. He will be a first team player, guaranteed. I almost see it a little bit like what. And look, he's a supreme talent, so it might not be on the same level, but he almost reminds me of a Foden situation that Man City did. Without the loans as such, he's always going to be a first team player. It's just when the manager gives him the opportunity. But if you are going to loan him out, I don't see Middlesbrough as a bad option. I think that could be a good option for him, locality wise. But maybe someone like a Norwich. That he's going to play regular football. That is, for me, I think Norwich are probably more likely to be challenging at the top end of the table than Middlesbrough, although it could all change. that wouldn't be a bad option, or even somewhere like a Blackburn, somewhere that he's going to play every week and is likely to be the main man and to be able to express himself like he did at Bristol Rovers. For me, that's what he needs. But any of those three teams, I think, would work. But if we are going to look to strengthen in those areas, and it looks like we are, there's no point keeping him for the sake of keeping him.
To be fair, you mentioned Foden, and Foden progressed without being loaned out. I know that's a very specific scenario,
club.
But
yeah, it's a different club and scenario. You're absolutely right, and that's why I say if we're going to loan him, do it in January, just to keep his progression going. I think it's been the right decision to keep him at Newcastle, to keep him in the squad. He's had a full pre-season. He's been in the squad. He's grown with the team that Eddie Howe's put together, and the fact we're sitting fourth, he's grown with us. He's seen what's going on behind the scenes. Now, if he can take that into another team and produce the levels that he did at Bristol Rovers, but in the Championship, I think he comes back in and really stakes his place for a claim for a place in the team next season. There'll always be a place for him. I think Eddie Howe's already alluded to that. There'll always be a place for him. It's just a case of, is he ready to play week in, week out at Premier League level? Some may say he already is. I'm not quite sure, not with where we're looking at going. If we were where we were under Steve Bruce, I think he probably would play every week. But we're a different type of team now, and we don't want to throw him in and then he fails. We've done that so many times with the young players.
I agree with everything that you've all said so far. I know Richie's going to come in again in a sec, but I agree with Alex. Yeah, if loan him out, if we bring in those players, and but or keep him if the injury situation is come the start of January is not, and you can also wait till the end, towards the end of January to make that decision. I agree with Billy as well. Put him ahead of Fraser if we aren't bringing in extra players. And there's merit to what Richie said about Middlesbrough, what Pete was saying about just getting him developed. But also I'm just conscious as well that he doesn't sit and not end up not playing games, and he ends up, I know like Matty Longstaff. We don't want him, I don't know, kind of missing out on any kind of football and development. So sorry, Richard, you want to get in as well?
No, I was just going to pick up on what Alex had said about Blackburn being a potential option, because we've got to remember that obviously we've got Steve Harper in the coach and staff now. He'll have been in the same squad as John Dahl Thomason, who's obviously manager at Blackburn now as well. So they might have a relationship and can work closely with how they want Anderson to develop. So that wasn't just basically to back up what Alex said. That's not a bad shout as well. And obviously, as Billy said, they're at the right end of the table, if they're challenging to go up. So that's not a bad shout either.
Cool. Righty up. Let's move on from Elliot Anderson, and I'm going to go to another topic. I'm going to throw this one because it's starting to grow pace. That Trossard may be on the move. I know we kind of did touch on Paul on the show the other day on the Toon review about players we'd like to see potentially coming in January. I'm not sure if anyone mentioned Trossard, but there's talks that Chelsea are looking to bring him in, and of course the link up with Potter again. But Newcastle's name is in the mix as well, and he's on fire as well. He's probably one that was in contention for player the month as well. But would you take Trossard? He's 27, going to be 28 in December. Belgian international. I'm sure Alex, you have a million stats on him. But anyone take Trossard, or do you think we get him?
Oh, 100%. Well, I've just brought him up just as we're talking about him, and I've just seen something that Pete will like. His closest stat match is actually Amina Guiri from Stade Rennais, which I know we were all kind of looking at last year. I'd take him in a heartbeat. He's on 7 goals, 1 assist already. He's a fully fledged international. He's versatile. He understands a pressing possession system. He's literally, if you were going to go and build a reasonably good versatile player in a lab, you would go and build Trossard right now and buy him. And 100% I would take him.
Any other takers of Trossard?
Do you know what I like about Trossard? Do you know what I like about him? He goes to the Etihad, he goes to Old Trafford, he goes to Anfield, and the chap always comes out with a goal or assist or something. He always turns on when it matters. He's a hell of a player. Yeah, I'll be well in for Trossard. He's a really good player. And he fits our system perfectly as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Is as you can see for one of the goals at the weekend, his ability to press high, relentless, doesn't give anyone a second on the ball. It's exactly how we've been playing. He would fit in absolutely perfectly. I just don't see us signing him personally. I'd love him at Newcastle. I just don't see us signing him. I think there's been a lot of talk about Newcastle being linked, and rightly so, because of Dan Ashworth being at Brighton previously, whatever. But he just, at 28 years old, when the transfer window opens again, he just seems like the perfect Chelsea and Graham Potter signing. And I think he'll go there. I don't think he's got too long left on his contract either.
Six months of January.
End of the season. So
they've got one option to extend though, which they will. I think it's the club's option, so they will trigger that just to get more money. I think.
But yeah, possibly, and that for us will throw us off. And we've got to remember, I think, we will look at players regardless of ages. But again, at 28, are we? Is that the right age for us to go out and sign a player like that? That's not the blueprint that Dan Ashworth and Darren Eales were saying to us just a couple of weeks ago when they were doing their interviews. They were saying their blueprint was younger players, building them and trying to make them into stars rather than buying players at 28, 29 that are kind of ready to rock and roll. But so it just is a top player, and it'd be great in our team. I just don't see it for just those reasons. But let's be honest. There are so many other options out there, and we're not pigeonholed to just one or two players anymore. No. There are so many other options out there, and I think all of those players that have already been discussed will come back to the forefront in January, no doubt.
Okay, Pete, just going to link in there. So on the age thing, right? He's going to be 28 in December, and Madison, their boy Madison, he'll be 26 in
2
November.
years older.
Yeah, so he's 2 years older.
But that's a perfect age because you're not in your prime yet. Like for outfield players, particularly midfielders and strikers, your prime has always been, or supposedly been, between 28 and 32. Mm-hmm. So he's not even in his prime yet. He's still got 4 years until he's 30. Madison's got the technical ability that you could probably pay another 2 or 3 years after that. I'm not saying Trossard couldn't, but I'm saying your value's better with Madison. You might be paying a slightly bit more in terms of a transfer fee, but because of the age that you've got him and the fact that he'll only have a year and a half left on his contract come January, it's a no-brainer. Because if he had 3 or 4 years left on his contract, we wouldn't even be linked with him. Madison they'd be demanding the best part of 80 million for him, in my opinion.
For one of the legs, presumably.
Yeah, as Roger said in the summer. But the fact that we are in a position now with a year and a half left on his contract. He's 26 years old. You look at the way he's been playing this season in a dreadful Leicester team. Like, you take that all day long. You put him in the Newcastle team, and you're getting goals and assists. You're getting creativity all over the shop. It is a no-brainer.
Do you think there's a definitive cut-off for recruitment age now? Then, do you think that now Ashworth and Eales are in, do you think it's changed and there's maybe it's a slightly flexible line, but there is a line?
Yeah, you got to remember that they were tremendously, and Ashworth in particular, he was tremendously successful at Brighton using that blueprint. It's the reason why we signed him. It's because he went out and got young players and made them into top players that then other teams spent crazy money on. You look at Basuma going to Tottenham for like 30 odd million. Like, that's what they do. Like, they bring those young players in, they find those young players, or they bring them through the academy, and then they blossom into top players. Like, I just go back to his interview. He said, if we're going to go and sign crazy money for players, 80, 90, 100 million, then he's not doing his job properly. So for me, I think to us, what they say is there's no gap in, or there's no there's no kind of ceiling to the age. But I think internally there would be, because they'll look at value and they'll look at growth. They've got the perfect manager that can develop players and make them better. We've seen that with players that are already in the squad. And you've got the perfect person in Ashworth to find those players. Like, it just makes sense.
Pete, and you passed the test. I just said I'd throw Madison in there. And yeah, you took the bait. You still love him. That's the main thing.
I want him. I just think for me, he'd be number one. He'd be number one. Play him on that. Play him on the right. Play him on the left. You play him in number 8. You can play him in all those positions. So he's versatile, which is important to Eddie Howe. You can play in any of those positions. So if there is a drop of form, and I'll go back to another point. We talk about how good Miggy is. And do we need to sign a winger? I think there's been some questions in the NUFC social media. Do we need to sign another winger? Question mark. Well, didn't we have that same conversation with Dan Burn? Did we need to sign Botman? Now look at Botman. Nobody would want him out of the team. He is an absolute mountain, a monster of a player. Sometimes you have to look beyond what you already had and think, you know what? Burns absolutely quality, but he's 30 years old and we need to develop and grow as a team. You don't want players to become stale, to think that I'm gonna play every week. I don't have to play at my 100%. I don't have to play at my maximum. And then all of a sudden you see a drop of form. What should happen is a winger comes in, whoever it is, and makes Alan Saint-Maximin and Miggy go, I need to keep my place here. I need to play well. I need to raise up, just like we did with the likes of John Joe Shelby when Bruno Gomes came in.
Cool. I just want to check, because I haven't looked at the other people in this, but did Trossard get in Shearer's Team of the Week? No, he didn't. Well, look who did. Trippier, Joe Linton, Wilson, and Almiron. Kiefer Moore getting in there. He had a good game there the weekend as well. I think he got 2 goals, if I remember correctly. But yeah. Cool. Very good.
When was the last time we ever had 4 players in the Team of the Week? Wonder if anyone knows that.
Could have been a long time ago if we did.
Very long time ago.
Probably the 5-0 against Man United, I'm going to say. when we had 10 in the team.
Were they even doing it then?
Was Shearer still picking it then?
Yeah. Funnily enough, no Man United plays in this Team of the Week either.
And that's what we want to see. God. Okay, righty up. Let's go to Richie. And do we have any comments or questions in the chat, Richie?
Yeah, I'll have a look through some of these because there's quite a few people now we've started mentioning potential, targets for January and stuff like that.
They took the bait.
Yeah, they took the bait and straight away. We've got William Smith there. He says we desperately needed a winger or 2. He still likes Diaby. I think a lot of us like Diaby. We thought he could be one of the ones that potentially could come in January, with Leverkusen having an abysmal season under Xabi Alonso in the Champions League and in the Bundesliga. So it's potentially one that could revisit in January. However, we know that January is a bit of an awkward window, so it might be one where they have to wait until next summer. Claire Simpson, thanks for watching the show. She's put a question in, and it could be controversial, this one, lads, so take it with a pinch of salt. If in January we were told that we could swap Bruno for any other footballer in the world, A, would you? And if so, who?
I'm going to answer first, Claire. No. No one.
Absolutely not. No way. It's not just the talent the man's got; it's the affinity he's got with the area. You can't buy that. You can't buy that affection he's got for the club and the club's got for him. So to me, it's priceless. No, I wouldn't be looking to swap with anybody.
Are you a full house on that one, Pete?
Yeah, I won't swap Bruno Gomes for anybody. Yeah, it's definitely the Fabian Shaw finger swivel. Look, I don't know if any of you have seen that half an hour interview that he had the other day. Honestly, it's just he's just an amazing guy, not just an amazing football player, world-class football player. He's just an amazing guy, and he just loves the club, the people, everything about this club. He is 100% sold on everything Newcastle United. You can't buy that. You can't replace that. You can't rebuy that. If he leaves, you're not. I just don't believe we'd get another player that would come in with that same mentality. He is a unique. He's a unique person.
I mean, the talent as well. To be fair, I mean, if you look at his age profile, who is as good or balanced in terms of just the fact he can play several roles exceptionally well? Who is that balanced in midfield and also his age in world football right now.
Yeah.
There's not that many floating around.
Well, I said after 2 or 3 games, it was the most all-round midfield player I've seen us play in Newcastle for Newcastle. I'll go a bit further than that now. I think he's probably the best midfield I've seen play for Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really, really top-level 27, 28 midfielders, 29, but 24, 25? Is there anybody playing at his level right now? I can't think of that many off the top of my head, really.
It's the maturity and intelligence, isn't it? You can't buy that at his age.
I was just about to say that, but you don't see the maturity for a 24-year-old as a centre midfielder, especially from outside the country as well.
Yeah.
Well, you just got to look at Lucas Paqueta as well. You look at Lucas Paqueta, he went to West Ham. Similar age, similar type of personality. That's why they were so close. But he's gone into West Ham and he hasn't hit the ground running. He hasn't hit the ground running in terms of his affections with the West Ham fans, how he settled into the country. He hasn't had the same impact. It's not easy to do. Like Richie said, come from another country, not knowing the language, learning the language in 4 months. That's commitment. That is commitment to the cause. Like, it's just unbelievable. And like we said, you said Daz, Madison's 26, this lad's 24.
Yeah,
you got 8 years of still top level football from him. You could take him till he's 32.
Yeah, and he can probably take over from Howe as manager after that. We're never letting him go. Never.
Why not? Backroom staff.
Bruno Seymour. Have him as chairman as well.
Then we can get Matteo Guimaraes in as well as soon as Bruno retires.
Yeah. Sign up.
William Smithy, I'll talk about wingers. He said, did anyone watch Mudryk tonight? Tough game against Leipzig, but the talent is obviously there.
I didn't see him, but he's a hell of a player. Got lots of talent, lots of potential as well. He's not nowhere near his full potential yet. He'll definitely be one for the future. Whether it'll be for us or not, I don't know, but he's certainly got the talent. Absolutely.
I saw an article today saying someone was quoting that they're looking for probably 50 to 60 million euros for him. Do you reckon that's a reasonable price for him, or is that potentially overpriced, bearing in mind where he's coming from and doesn't have the experience of playing in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe?
I think it's fair. I think it's definitely fair. I mean, if you watch him play, so he's 21 years old, 300 days, so he's nearly 22. He's got 9 goal contributions in the Ukrainian Premier League, 5 goal contributions in the Champions League this season. His stats are off the chart, and his second closest stat match is Moussa Diaby. Funny that. Yeah, he'd be amazing.
I tell you what, the Newcastle scouts are not doing a bad job, are they?
You can literally, if you just go and look on stat sites and look at these names, you can the web starts to unravel and you can see
we've come a long way from Dennis Wars and YouTube anyway, haven't we? Let's be honest.
You imagine the players, you think about the summer that's just gone, in the hundreds, maybe even the thousands of players that we were linked to. Just imagine if Dennis Wise was in charge of that recruitment with the money that we spent and the type of dross that we'd have had. We'd have had Lingard for one, no doubt about it. We'd have paid him nearly 200 grand a week to come.
Phil Jones, he'd have been through the door.
Oh my God. It would have been an absolute joke. But Mudryk is a top player. Personally, I think you could get him for that, like 30 million. I think you can get him for 30 million.
I've got another one here was changing tax slightly, but obviously.
Richie, just one thing, because I know we had kind of a bit of a conversation about between Mudryk and I call him KK from Napoli. So Fabrizio Romano was talking to his agent the other day, or a link to his agent anyway. But it looks, because they're kind of similar players, right? But it looks like KK is going to probably stay at Napoli until next season, and then they'll look for 100 million for him. That's the kind of trajectory he's on. So that will rule us out from probably. Well, you never know. Come that time, where we are, what we're doing in transfer market at that stage. But yeah, and so we're switching tact. We're going all in for Mudryk in our pursuit, our own personal pursuit.
I would say the only difference to that, Daz, because again, quality player, but Napoli are a bigger club.
Yeah,
and they have more of a hold. They're playing Champions League, like they'll be up there playing Champions League football at the very least, season upon season, and can attract good players. Shakhtar do have to cash in every so often with their top level players, so that's why I do think that if we went in with a solid amount of money, around 30 million, I do think we'd prize them away.
Shakhtar did actually turn down 2 offers in the summer for Mudryk from Brentford and Everton for 30 million euros, but apparently he didn't want to go to somewhere where they weren't playing European football.
Oh, we won't have that problem next season.
There you go. And he's top 4 mags. That's all you have to say to him, and he'll sign on the dotted line, no doubt.
Definitely. Right, as I said, just go on about younger players, because there's about 3 points I want to get to, then we'll move on, Daz. Now, this guy's always been, he's English player, very young, highly thought of, but everyone seems to think he's been earmarked for Liverpool, right? But would anybody think Newcastle could tempt Bellingham?
Not just yet.
No.
Maybe in 3 or 4 years.
Too early.
I think he's going to Real Madrid anyway in the summer. I don't think he'll be going anywhere. A bloke I work with, he drinks with his dad, and he seems to think that Real Madrid's the place he'll be heading for.
There's too many top clubs that are about to need a midfield rebuild, and we're not far enough down the line yet. If we were 2 years further into our situation and we'd already qualified for the Champions League, and you never know, but I think it's too soon. I think he'll go to somebody, because Liverpool's midfield is shocking. I'm sorry if that's offended anybody, but it is awful. And Real Madrid do have a couple of old guard that surely have to retire at some point soon. I know that was meant to be a couple of years ago, but they can't go to their 40. I mean, maybe they'll try, but that's just 2 clubs. So, and Man City, they tend to recycle a lot more than people seem to think. There's always 2 or 3 out, 2 or 3 in most years. There's a lot of rotation at that club, to be fair. So you never know, but I think it's a highly probable no.
I'm gonna say no as well, but I'll use my answer to tell people to make sure you hit that subscribe button to join Loaded on our journey, and hit that like button as well. So yeah, that's my answer.
Back to it, unless we go for his little brother, which you never know.
Yeah, entice him that way. Yeah, that's an option.
Apparently, they reckon his younger brother, Billy might know this, being obviously from his neck of the road, but they reckon his brother's actually potentially much better than what he is.
He was at his age, yeah. Job is it's Job.
Yeah, Job.
Yeah, they think he's better at that age than what Jude was. So, it's whether he gets, because obviously Jude got first team. And Jude got first team football quite early, didn't he, at Birmingham for one reason or another, and played a season off of Dortmund. But whether Job gets that same opportunity, who knows? Birmingham are doing quite well at the minute, so possibly not.
They're still the bottom half of the championship, aren't they, Birmingham?
Yeah, but they've had a few wins lately, haven't they? 2 or 3 wins on the bounce or something like that.
Did they beat QPR?
They did, yeah.
They beat QPR?
Yeah, 2-0, yeah. 2-0. Yeah.
I want to link this one to one of Bellingham's ex-teammates, because it was actually a message I had sent to me from a friend who watches the show. And I rated him when he was in the Bundesliga. I thought he was a fantastic one. But he moved back to the Premier League about 18 months ago, and he's never really fitted in since. But he wants to know would anybody take Jadon Sancho at Newcastle under Eddie Howe's coaching?
Hell yeah. 100%.
What age is Jadon Sancho?
He's 21, 22, surely.
Yeah, I think it's 23.
Just Googling him here. 22. Yeah.
Still very young.
I was amazed Man City let him go, if I'm perfectly honest. And Man United certainly isn't the club for him. I think he could do a fantastic job for us here.
Yeah, I don't know if he suits our play, if I'm honest. Talented boy. One thing I was really shocked about, and I was saying it to my mate who's a Man U season ticket holder when we were going to Old Trafford, is that one thing I was really shocked about Jadon Sancho is his lack of pace. I for some reason I hadn't noticed it when I watched him because he was so skillful, getting so many assists, scoring so many good goals. But watching him at Man United, when he's told to push high and press the ball high, when you see someone like Rashford do it, he's lightning. He makes it look good. Jadon Sancho just can't press on that level. He's not quick enough, and it really shocked me. So it's almost like. I thought to myself, why did he leave England? Why did he leave England to go to Germany? And it's because the pace of the football in Germany is a lot slower. It's more technical than it is in England. England, it's hustle, bustle, pace, work rate, back, forward. The intensity is massive. And I think there's an element of his game that really struggles with that. I thought he'd be getting a new lease of life under Ten Hag, and he hasn't. And I think Ten Hag's maybe seen it. He plays him in Europe and here, there. But I just think there's an element to his game in England that really hampers him. And I think it's having that lack of pace. So personally, for me, I wouldn't. Not with it coming with the wages and the price tag and all the rest of it. I just think there are other players out there.
I'd go along with that, Pete. Like I never really watched him when he was in Germany, and I haven't seen anything of him really. I've known in the games I've seen him playing, but so yeah, I'd go along with bringing in someone else. Okay, the age factor and what Eddie Howe could get out of him, but give Eddie Howe another 20-year-old, 22-year-old for on half the wages or less, and I can think we could work miracles there as well. So
I think that's very quickly swept under the rug there. Considering when he was 19, he got 17. What did he get? 17 goals. He got some crazy numbers in the Bundesliga. He was absolutely disgusting. Some of his output.
He was top for goal contributions in Europe.
Yeah, he's absolutely phenomenal. He was up there. Like a couple of years ago, he was matching Messi's statistics when Messi was at Barcelona. It was freakish. Like, yeah, he doesn't have great defensive statistics, but I think somebody that young, I think could be worked. I definitely think he could be worked because we've got players like Maxi that don't do the pressing, right? So I think if we forgive some, I feel like we could forgive others. It depends what's on the other side of their game. You know, if he's providing that. And I think Man United, we've not been able to see what he can actually do because Man United has been awfully run for, well, basically since he's been there. Chopping and changing the system, and it's just never worked.
Turn that back around, Alex. If we are in the position we are in now and we didn't have Alan Saint-Maximin, would you be buying an Alan Saint-Maximin?
If we had no Maxi right now, if he just didn't exist, and we had the squad excluding Maxi,
or would you look
that's
elsewhere?
a tough one. That is a real tough one because I really like Maxi, but probably purely it would be down to output. Because you've got other people out there who have got sort of 20, 25 goal contributions, and Maxi got 10 last year. So I think if I was to try and remove my bias, I'd probably look at people with more output. That being said, I think because we've watched Maxi a lot more than other fan bases, I think we're all hoping that he could possibly push to that level. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, especially the lower lads, we said we give him to the end of the season to see how he gets on. He started really well, then the injuries hit again, so he's got a big second half of the season to go, or to try and impress us, really, I guess. Richie, any other questions?
Yeah, let's have a quick look. Stu wants to know, do you reckon there's any chance we could get a contract offer in for William Saliba? Saliba, whichever way to say it.
None whatsoever.
No.
There's no way on God's earth Arsenal selling him, or absolutely no way.
There's rumours Atletico was sniffing around today as well, but that's not going to happen.
He's a gem of a centre half. He really is. Yeah, and he's got a great song as well.
Yeah.
And they waited so long to see the best out of him as well. Right? They're not going to let him go too easily.
Right, Yano has put a fantastic question, so I want to get your thoughts on this, lads. What are your thoughts on this as a front five? ASM, Isak, Wilson, Bruno, Miggy. get a holding centre midfielder and make it so.
What,
Like
4-1-5, yeah?
It looked like it.
Like David
Like a
Batty in
National
there,
League.
just to batter them away.
Somebody's been playing too much Football Manager.
How does that work? So we need a holding centre midfielder. That's fine. But who's playing centre mid? Is it?
The only thing I can think of, they're going to play Bruno with the CDM, aren't they? And you could probably have 2 wingers and then possibly 2 up front, or you could have Isak behind Wilson potentially. So they play like more like a 4-2-3-1, something like that. I think that's potentially the only way you could really work it, unless you would have played 2 up top. But
I think Hal's still having nightmares for the last time he tried a 4-2-3-1 with us when he put Willock in part of a double pivot, and it was Longstaff and Willock as a double pivot, and it just was an absolute nightmare.
I think that's what the problem was.
Probably do better now,
Willock and Longstaff as the double pivot.
Yeah, when he first came in, that was what he tried. It was Willock on the left of a double pivot, and it just, oh dear, it was atrocious. Arguably, they'd probably do a lot better if they were given the task now, but that was so bad at the time. Never again.
I've got a question. Sorry, we'll finish this first, but I've got a question. Remind me to come back to it.
No, I'm not certain that Isak and Wilson can play together, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm really not. People are saying play Isak on the wide right. I don't think you can drop Miggy to do that. I just can't see Wilson and Isak because I think they want to be in the same space.
Well, Isak on the heat maps for Sociedad tended to drift a lot left. He did play with a strike partner in the second season when his goal output sort of dropped off. They played in a wonky 4-3-3. It often was to get the best out of David Silva, but he's rotated systems and he's been okay with a partner. And Wilson's, very experienced. I'm sure he'd be willing to adapt somewhat. It might not work, but I think there's no reason why it couldn't.
Yano's put Isak and Bruno in front of a holding midfielder. That's interesting. So that's what he meant by that. So basically, it's where
Isak is an 8.
Joe Linton and Bruno.
He's trying to do another Joe Linton transformation, but with Isak. We can't just keep buying strikers and moving them backwards.
To be fair, I think I know Billy mentioned he didn't think that it would work. I think Wilson and Isak could work as a 2. If you notice, Wilson comes a lot deeper now to receive the ball. He comes up and holds the ball up. He did that really well against Villa at the weekend and created some chances off the back of that. And as we saw against Liverpool and against Palace, Isak likes to get in behind. He likes to play off the last man. He's that old school type striker that play on the last man, play the ball in and behind, and he'll run on the end of it. So it could potentially work. And those 2 playing together would minimalise the amount of running that Wilson does, which would hopefully minimalise the amount of injuries he gets. So I think if you're gonna be playing Wilson long term in a Newcastle team, it might be or might need to be part of Eddie Howe's thinking.
I mean, it is worth noting that he said in an interview not that long ago he does not want to play a 4-4-2. No. I mean, just in case anybody in the chat might write that, he's literally said in an interview not looking to play a 4-4-2. So it's interesting to talk about, but I just don't think it's going to happen because he's literally come out and said it's not happening. So, but you never know.
Just back to what you were saying, Alex, on Eddie Howe maybe converting Isak to a midfielder. If he has to convert anyone, can he please convert Chris Wood into some kind of footballer we can use, because we can't use him.
Well, I mean, FIFA made him a centre back, didn't they? So
they did, and he was good. But I'd convert him into the pie salesman or the program seller. That'd be my job for him.
Right, I have another question.
Go on, Dad.
Yeah. So. Pete, with the 2 of us on the review show of the Villa game, we started talking all sorts of nonsense and even suggesting potentially for the future England could look at Sean Longstaff to start bringing him in the squad. What George Culkin, George Culkin was listening to us, I think, because on part of the time when I was listening to it today, he mentions it as well. But England could potentially look at Sean Longstaff. So I'm going to go to Richie, Alex, and Billy, and the thoughts on that. I'll go to Alex first because he just completely ruling it out straight away.
Oh, God. All right. So Henderson's aging and is in poor form. You've got Rice and Bellingham. You got Ward-Prowse on the fringes. Southgate's played Mount further back. Who else exists? I mean, you never know. You never know. Never say never. He's still young enough, to be fair. Yeah, it was his birthday the other day. But I think he would have to be. He'd have to match this season's performances so far without the lesser games. The fact that he can play in a 6 and an 8, the fact he can press, his intelligence is improving. He's got 3 goal contributions from 9 starts. If he maintains this, the Euros in a couple of years, if he maintains what he's doing right now, and we still don't have any depth in midfield in terms of the national team, then you never know. He might get a call up. He might get one of these a call up but stay on the bench kind of things. But he's going to have to, he's going to have to suddenly do a Miggy. He's going to have to start winning extra tackles and putting the ball in the net a little bit more. Like, he's already done so much. I don't want to take it away from him because his improvements have been phenomenal. I think he's put in some really good performances recently, but I think that's a stretch too far. I know I like to put my neck on the line with crazy shouts, but I'm not doing that one.
So if you're listening, Sean Longstaff, Alex says there's a chance. Rightio. Just before we go to Billy on the same question, I'm going to remind people to hit that subscribe button and that like button. That will really help us out. Billy, are you going to consider Sean Longstaff, not for the World Cup, but after the World Cup for the Euros as a potential candidate to get into that England midfield?
Well, look, he's already come so far forward this season, so I don't see it as an impossible task for him. And we're talking about Southgate says he picks players on form. We know he doesn't. But if you're going to pick a player out of James Ward-Prowse or Sean Longstaff at this precise moment, I'm picking Sean Longstaff out of James Ward-Prowse the form he's in, 100% at the time.
Yeah, and sure, you never know. Even after the World Cup, Rafa could get the England job. He'd surely pick him. Richie, your thoughts?
It's a tough one. He's had a fantastic season, hasn't he? And he's starting to go in the right direction. I don't know. I think it's a bit of a similar situation to the Dan Burn, how it doesn't seem to be a fashionable pick, if that makes sense. We know he's doing a good job. Dan Burn's doing a fantastic job, but just seems as though he's going to be overlooked. And I think that would be the same for Sean Longstaff, unfortunately. I think you'd probably have more chance of getting Joe Willock potentially in the England fold, in my opinion, than Sean Longstaff.
Okay. I asked for Sean Longstaff and you gave me Joe Willock. Fair enough.
I agree with that. I think Joe Willock's definitely got a lot more chance. He's nearly 3 years younger, has a higher skill ceiling. Is potentially, we haven't seen him he's not been howled yet. So we're yet to see him go on that sort of run. So he's definitely got more of a shout.
No, that's a fair enough point. And if he went on a run like he did when he came to us on loan, yeah, definitely, he'll definitely get the shout for England. Pete, any more thoughts on that? I know we discussed it already, but
no, we did say it'll be after the World Cup, so no consideration for the World Cup, definitely not. But like you mentioned, you've got Henderson that's kicking on. I think Ward-Prowse is going to be 29 soon, which was crazy. I thought he was a lot younger, but yeah, I think he'd be 29 soon. So a lot of those fringe players are kind of kicking on a little bit. But you got to remember, and I'm purely looking at the way in which England's set up now. He'd be perfect for that sort of sitting role. He can get around the pitch. He's good on the
Calvin
ball.
Phillips. Even though he doesn't play football anymore, sorry.
No, we mentioned this on the review show, and it is a genuinely serious problem with Calvin Phillips because this is not the first time he's had shoulder surgery, and every time you have shoulder surgery, it starts to play with the joint, and if you get to the point where it keeps coming out, which it is for him at the moment, you have to then put a rod in, which means he won't be able to play football anymore because when you have that rod in, you can only lift your arm so high. So you can't jump for headers or move it in certain directions. I've got a good mate who should have made it past semi-pro, who had to retire for the same reason. So he needs to be very careful, and it's stopping.
That's a very common rugby early retirement issue, isn't it?
So, you know, I'm not even really putting him in the equation because he's not really in the talking at the moment. But I do think the one thing I said is I think Gareth Southgate would have come away from that game on Saturday not thinking Sean Longstaff's in my team or he's my future, but thinking, okay, maybe I should keep him in the pool. Maybe he's added to the pool of players that I would maybe consider in the future, and just watching his progression, just like Willock. Willock's playing well. Willock probably doesn't fit the system for England, and where you would probably play Willock is where the likes of Foden plays, and there's just no comparison there. But I just think Longstaff, for what he does, is perfect for the system in England right now, if he continues to play this way.
Cool. Richie, sorry, I interrupted your list of questions there with that. But any more questions or comments you want to go to?
I've got a couple left. Let's have a look. Which one should we go to? Ian Toon Trader, he has turned on and said about obviously what Alex touched on before. Question for lads: do you think ESM would pass the no dickhead policy if we were signing him now? Obviously, we know that the character seems to be a big, choice of whatever they're looking for now in the recruitment policy side of things. Do you think he would get picked now?
That's a good question.
I don't understand where this has come from. I don't get it. I think he's a cracking club ambassador. He does constantly doing things for charity. He does things with for the children, for charities. He's got his Helios thing. I don't know where this has come from.
I think what Ian's trying to get at, Alex, is obviously we can see what he's been like now since he's been at the club. I think if he was still at Nice and he was on the radar like he was a few years ago, do you think we would purchase it now if he was at that stage now? If it was, if he was still at Nice, obviously the stuff he had with Vieira and stuff like that, the spats, and
I don't think there's an attitude issue. I've not seen anything wrong with his attitude, other than sitting on the floor a bit too much and maybe not getting on with play. But to be fair, he often doesn't get the run of play from the referees, and he gets kicked, 3 whatever's out of him quite consistently, and doesn't get the calls. I don't think he's got an attitude problem. I'm aware that there were issues at Nice with Vieira, but I've not seen that since he's been at the club with us. I think he was respectful to Bruce, even when Bruce departed. He's been respectful to Eddie Howe. He's always posting videos as soon as he's back from injury, training to get back fit as soon as possible, doing charity work. There seems to be a segment of fans that think there's an attitude issue, and I can't see it. I don't know where it's come from.
Billy?
I agree with that 100%. And let's not forget, before he got injured, Maxi was playing the best football of his career for us. He tore England's right back to pieces in the Man City game. He saved us against Wolves. The lad was on fire. He was doing Miggy stuff then, before Miggy was doing it. So his attitude on the pitch has been magnificent this season. Just that injury stopped him in full flow, really. I'm looking forward to getting him back in that form, because if we do get him back in that form, and having him on one side and Migo on the other, God, how much threat we're going to have. God, it's frightening to think about it, to be honest.
Pete, obviously, know you're a huge Maxi fan. Would you agree with what Alex and Billy have said?
Yeah, 110%. When Ian refers to the no dickhead policy, for me, it just screams that attitude, which is what he's referring to. And I don't see anything wrong with Alison Maxim's attitude at all. I really don't. You've got a guy that just moved to a new country and signed for Newcastle, and within a couple of days was visiting the food bank and showing his support. So for me, I just think, in my mind, that's someone that's got the right attitude, that wants to understand the culture, the community, the city a little bit better. And he's gone on and done the same. He's he's given out his Rolexes and stuff like that, but he's done a lot of other things for the community and for the fans, and he loves the fans so much. You've got all this talk of the going to France and blah 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 and whatever, but if Eddie Howe really had a problem with it, he'd have fined him by now, or there would have been some massive issues on the back of it. It would have been dropped, all this other stuff. None of that's happened. And actually, in his last press conference, Eddie Howe turned around and said his attitude has been outstanding with how he's dealt with the recovery of his injury, because he's realised that it's reoccurring. He needs to get his head down and make sure that he's really ready to come back this time. And he's done that. And Eddie Howe said he couldn't be happy with him. So for me, there's no issue with attitude. It's just about keeping him on the pitch long enough to show his ability. Because Billy was absolutely right in what he said. Before Miggy went on his fantastic form, we're all lauding Miggy, and rightly so. But Alan St. Maximin was putting out that kind of performances, week in, week out before he got his injury. And we've not been able to see that come to fruition like Miggy has.
Daz?
Yeah, no, I agree with what everyone said. And I don't put him in the dickhead bracket, but I don't know if I just logically think of it, I couldn't see right now or in January or the summer that he'd go for an ASM type player. Because you have him, he's going to work with them and get the best out of him. But it's the injuries and things like that kind of would put a bit of doubt in his mind. They'd have to do thorough background checks and stuff like that. But yeah, not on Phil and on the question asked.
I mean, this time 12 months ago, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Maxi would have been in the side by now, and he'd been injured again. He'd been brought back way too early, and he got injured. Because we're having such a good run, it's not so important that he gets back in the side so he can get himself fit properly, and hopefully he gets a longer run this time because of it.
Yeah, I'd like to point out one thing, just because Pete mentioned the him going back to France thing. I don't like that people bring that up because that's literally where he's from. That's really unfair to use as a thing. Like Isak's in Sweden recovering. Nobody's mentioned that. Exactly. Nobody ever comments about that, and it's just unfair. When Callum Wilson's injured, he stays in England because that's where he's from. It's unfair to say that about,
He goes to Bournemouth.
Exactly, which is arguably his travel time driving is probably more than Maxi has to spend on the plane back to France. So
why does no one want to stay in Newcastle if that's the case?
They want to go home to their family, don't they? If they're injured and they're not at the training ground every day, until they get to that point where they're working with the physios on a daily basis, they have their home stuff. Because you mentioned that about Kraft was back with his family. He's got his own exercises that have been assigned to him for his recovery. Until they're at that point where they're ready to be training with the club again, there's no need, and they might as well be with family.
Is Wilson's family not in Newcastle though?
They weren't.
Or extended family potentially.
I think they moved up here in the summer. I think they moved up in the summer like Eddie Howe did, moved to his family as well.
So you got to remember, it's a mental health thing as well. If you're injured, if you're in a new country to you, and you're one of only one or two people that are there, and the rest of your family are back in Sweden or France, and you're just sitting there in your house all day, and you're injured, so you can't move and you can't get around and do the things that you want to do. It's going to play on your mind a little bit more. So why not let them go back and spend time with their family where they can be in their home comforts and mentally be in a place where they can be and feel comfortable and okay. And still do the training and everything that goes on with it. I don't see a problem with it. You go back to so many other players, and it wouldn't have been a talking point because it shouldn't be a talking point. There'd have been so many other players in the years gone by that would have done exactly the same. Exactly the same. I remember we did it with Miggy when he first came to the club. There were times where I think when he did his hamstring, I think he went back to Paraguay for a little bit with his partner and spent a bit of time with his family. It wasn't talked about then. I'm with you guys. I don't get it. I really don't.
No, that's cool. Richie, any more questions?
Well, just on the Callum Wilson thing, Lisa has put in saying that Callum and his family defo live in Jez, but not that she's a stalker or anything.
Lisa's on the case.
You've sold yourself out.
He was in the same class as my stepson at school, by the way, Callum Wilson. My son goes to the same school as him, and my stepson was in the same class as him at school. So he's actually been in his house as a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a Coventry lad, isn't he?
Yeah, just 200 yards up the road.
Toon Trader's actually come back in with, obviously on that point, he says, I don't think he has an attitude problem. I just think that he's possibly not the sort of character that we would go for now. So that's obviously his point on that one there. Have a look at this one. Mark Todd. Shelvey is due to get a new contract soon, but should we sell him now and get a younger player whilst he's still got some sell-on value? Daz, I'll go to you that one first.
No, look. Yeah, he's one game left, and he gets the contract. Then I think. I'd be keeping him for the rest of this season, and then maybe in the summer look to sell him. But maybe House sees that he can offer something to the younger players coming through. But we do need to bring in younger players, and we will be bringing in younger players. But are we going to get that much for him either? Do we buy him for 12 million, something like that, from Swansea?
Something like
Yeah.
But what are we going to get from? Like he's 30, I think, around that. Where is he going to go? Maybe a lower Premier League club, or he'll dominate the Championship. We've seen that before. Would we even get 5 million from him?
Probably not.
Yeah. So,
Pete, you any different thoughts on that one, on Shelvey?
I think he'll stay. I think he'll see out his contract. I think his contract runs out in the summer, but he'll get a year extension. So that takes him to the end of the 23-24 season. I think that'll be his lot. After
Think it's a good squad player for next year, for the squad rotation and stuff.
He said in his interviews he's quite happy to stay and be a part of this. He wants to be a part of the ride.
Yeah, he did.
Even if it means he's being a squad player. And I think, if he wasn't content with things, I think he'd have been banging on the door by now to get into the squad, because he's been fit for a few weeks. I think they've eased him back in. I think he'd have been banging on the door by now, but I think he's quite content with being in this Newcastle team. And you know what? If you've got an opportunity of playing European football next year at 31 years old, Jonjo Shelvey, he's likely to be the guy that's going to be playing at some of these random away grounds in the Europa Conference, Europa League, or even the Champions League. What a way to end his career at Newcastle, by playing European football in some way.
Pete, just want to jump in there. Would you send them back to someone that won't be in Europe next year? West Ham, to Dan Lawless. I know Shelvey is a West Ham fan, I think. So there's an option for you.
We had over a year ago. We had this huge debate that he believed that Mark Noble was better than Jonjo Shelvey. So I don't think he'll want him. But I have no idea.
He's a Charlton fan, by the way. I'm pretty sure he's.
Who's that?
Is he not a Charlton fan, Jonjo Shelvey?
No, West Ham.
He started at Charlton.
He started at Charlton. He's a West Ham fan. So I don't even think Dan Lawless would want him. But that debate is not even a debate for me in terms of who's better out of Mark Noble and Jonjo Shelvey. But that's Dan Lawless for you. He has some wacky opinions on things, but
I do have a completely different opinion on Shelvey, by the way, to you guys. I think he's going to be really important. He had a crazy preseason. He came back looking as lean as ever. I've never seen him press as much as in those games before he got injured in the Benfica game. I think he pulled his hamstring or he did his thigh. I can't remember exactly what he did. I think he's going to play a good part. I genuinely think we've not seen the best of Jonjo Shelvey yet. I think when he was utilised last season, I think he was still in his old form. And I think now he's had time away. I think he's changed his physique somewhat, his fitness, and I think we're probably going to see the fittest Jonjo Shelvey we've ever seen. And I think people are in for a bit of a surprise.
Billy, do you think
we'll see something very interesting?
I'm with Alex on it. I'm exactly like Alex. One thing, Jonjo Shelvey's never been blessed with his pace, so I think he's not got much pace to lose. I think he can still be playing top level football at 34. He's a quarterback type midfielder. But one thing he has got is vision. He can pass the ball. He covers the ground better now than what he ever has done with his fitness, like Alex says. So I think he'll be here another 2-3 years at least.
So you could see him in the Champions League for us.
Absolutely. I can see him lifting it. Never anything else.
If Liverpool can keep James Milner in their squad, why can't we have Jonjo Shelvey?
And here's Shelvey with the cup.
So we have to play the music every time we mention Champions League. Sorry, Alex.
No, literally, just if James Milner can be in the Liverpool squad at 36, then I don't see any reason why Jonjo Shelvey can't be. Like if he comes back now and the pace isn't there, he can't do the pressing, and it doesn't quite work out. Fine, fair enough. Let's see out the contract and stuff. But if he comes back and we're like, oh my god, is that Shelvey? Like, just nicking the ball and contributing to the press, helping hunting in packs, and doing the old Hollywood stuff on top of it. Like if he can put himself about as well as producing some of his old, because let's not be honest, he's probably one of the most technically gifted players in the entire squad. I know Bruno's got a good pass, but Shelvey is a proper old school. I can hit the ball 60 yards and drop it on a pin. Not many players can do that in the league. So if he can add some legs, I think he'd be a frightening player. And there's no reason, especially if you're going to playing European football, like you guys have just said, no reason why we shouldn't extend his contract. I think we could keep him. If it goes right, it might not go right. So fair enough. But I think if he can increase his fitness a little bit and show us a little bit more in terms of just his output physically, then why can't he stay for another 3 or 4 years and be part of the squad? Because he's been at the club for a long time. He understands the before, the after. I think he could be important. I really do.
I mean, he's never had pace anyway, has he? He's never had pace, but he reads the game so well as a defensive midfield player. He just knows where to be. So I don't think pace is an issue, but he does look fit. He does go for 90 minutes now, constant running, but he's not quick. He's obviously not quick, but the head is quick, which is probably the most important thing.
I don't think Alan Thompson agrees with you, Alex.
I haven't seen the comments, but if you can go back, I'm pretty sure there's recordings of the Benfica game and a couple of our preseason games. He was playing as a holding DM and he was pressing sometimes on the left and right wing. He was leading the press whilst also dropping back between the centre-backs to be an anchor, and he was running about the place. Go and have a look at some of his preseason games.
Well, the good news, Alex,
he wasn't
is that
slow in preseason. Go watch the games.
Alex, you've won a day's golfing with John Joe Shelby. John Joe always watches the show and he likes what you're saying. You're giving him a new contract. He's giving you a day out of golf. Nice.
Pete, Ryan wants to know, he watched the show you did yesterday. He really enjoyed it on Dan Potter's channel. He said it was a fantastic show. What stuff you're going to be a regular going forward? I'm thinking that's probably going to be a yes, but whether that Dan Lawless is going to be a regular going forward, because obviously we're talking European football here, aren't we, Pete?
Yeah, well, I got promoted to the Race for Europe show, which I don't think went down too well with a couple of the fans in there. So Dan Lawless, who's West Ham Fans TV, and Toby, who's been on our show before, a new Spurs order. Have been and done away days with us. Those two weren't best pleased. They didn't think we deserved to be in the Race for Europe, in the promotion of the top 6, top 7 chat. To be fair, by the end of it, I think Toby had been won round slightly. I think he was on our side and ultimately went at Dan. But Dan's reasonings for why he didn't think Newcastle should have been in that conversation were just ridiculous. For one, he was saying that we'd spent loads of money and we bought our way there and that we'd paid off Dan Potts. No chance. They spent 175 million in the summer. We spent just over 100. But yet he's saying to us that we bought our way there. They bought their way 175 million to 13th place in the league. And we're in top 4. And he just can't get his head around it. I think he's worried that we are going to be in a position that they had for the last 2 years, and it's going to set them right back. And there's a genuine worry there. And being on that channel last night and hearing the thoughts from one or two that were really positive, Errol from Redmen, Liverpool channel, he was really positive about Newcastle. So fair play to him. But yeah, the fume and the salt is there for all to see. But yeah, I'll be on there on a regular basis. Might not be every week, every other week. And yeah, there is a relegation and promotion show. He does 3 shows. So he's got the Race for Europe, he's got Best of the Rest, and then he's got a relegation show. And sometimes he mixes those together. But there is a genuine talk for anyone that watched that last night that Dan Lawless should be relegated. The only reason he's not been relegated is because they're still in Europe. So let's all pray for a West Ham knockout of the Conference League, because I tell you what, it would all go down, and I'm just going to be there with my brandy, just not this brandy.
It was all good banter though, anyway, Pete.
It is, and it's not serious. You know, like he has these opinions and stuff, but in general, Dan Lawless is a really, really nice guy. He's been on the channel a couple of times before. Yeah. Great knowledge of football, just not good knowledge of Newcastle.
-2 goal difference for West Ham. Oh, it's not looking good.
There you go. There you go.
Right, there's a couple of last points because obviously I can see we're getting close to the hour-and-a-half mark. So this could be open to anybody. Obviously, we've been linked with a lot of people from Brighton. Obviously, we go from Dan Burn, Dan Ashworth, a few other players. And Mason's put in saying they've got a highly rated 17-year-old from Rosario Central called Facundo Buenote. Does anybody know anything about him at all?
Is that the Argentinian lad they're after signing or something?
I don't know.
No. Okay.
I haven't heard of him before, but it's Brighton, so it really wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, it still says he plays for Rosario on SofaScore. 17-year-old Argentinian. No idea.
Maybe they're on the verge of signing.
Yeah. It could be a bit like what we've done with Garang Kowal and signed him for for January type thing. So. But it might be, it could be another name to watch for in the future, no doubt.
Yeah, it was just announced today that he's going to join Brighton. That's Wikipedia, so that's where that name is coming from.
Right, I'm going to link this part. There's two parts here. I'm going to link them into one question, and we'll go around the houses before we round off. It's off David Veach and Rachel Lilly. And David opens up saying, is anybody worried that our England internationals going to Qatar may be Southgate, aka Bruce? And Rachel also says, is it wrong to be more excited about the January transfer window than the World Cup? No, # club. Go solo, go. Billy, we'll start with you first, mate.
I'm excited about the World Cup, but maybe not from an England perspective. I'm really looking forward to seeing Brazil and Bruno doing magical things. The Southgate thing's a big point, but I think our players are too experienced. The Trippiers of this world. He hasn't been Southgated yet, so I can't see that happening. But I'm excited about the World Cup. I'm really excited about the January transfer window, but I'm not excited for England, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm really excited to see Bruno. Really excited.
Alex?
I'm very excited for the World Cup. I've never been one to sort of jump on and off the bandwagon. I watch every England match. I've always, since 2002, I watch every single game, always get behind him. I hate Southgate's management. I don't want to play a 5-2-3. Terrible, terrible decisions, but I'll support the team. It's the same as when we were poor, support the club, not the regime and all of this. I'm not interested in constantly slagging off Southgate. I think we're aware that he definitely could be getting a lot more out of this team. The recent results have been awful. And it's a group I want us to do well in because it's got the USA in it, it's got Wales. I don't want us to get shown up. We don't have to go and win the tournament, but we at least need to put up a fight because we've got some incredibly talented players in the setup. So and I'm excited to potentially see some of our players in the England team. It's been a very long time. It was back in the Andy Carroll days, I think. I don't think Townsend got a cap when he was with us. So it's been a long, long time since we've had any of our players in the setup. So it'll be nice.
Pete?
I've got to be honest. Like I watch all the England games, and I am to a point looking forward to the World Cup. But I'm already looking forward to when Newcastle start playing again. I've got to be honest. Like that first game back, that hopefully is the Carabao Cup game, but if not, be the game at the King Power. I'm absolutely buzzing for that. I can't wait for it to come back, and it's not even finished yet. I just think it's because it's obviously mid-season. There's a break. I'm not looking forward to the World Cup because normally me and my mates, it's been tradition since 2004. We always go out for every game, but the games are on at awful times, in which I think one of the games on at like 1 o'clock, which I'm working. I'm going to be missing it. So that normal tradition is going to be broken. So it doesn't quite feel the same. And I think it's the same for a lot of people. Work and stuff is going to get in the way of really being able to enjoy the tournament for what it is. Yeah, England, I'm not expecting big things from them. I've got to be honest. I really don't. A lot of their players that are probably going to start are not in good form. Even the likes of Sterling, who had an unbelievable Euros, he just looks half the player at Chelsea. He just looks really poor. And he's the one that got us out a lot of crap in games in the Euros and over the years, and it just doesn't fill me with confidence. Alex is right; we don't have to win it, but for me, anything other than a quarterfinal is considered a failure. We have to get to the quarterfinals at the very, very least. Anything else, Southgate should lose his job. It should be considered a failure in the tournament. We are representing Europe. We are the best team, in my opinion, in Europe representing the World Cup. It's just about whether we can go toe-to-toe with the likes of Brazil, Argentina, those South American teams. It's whether we can go toe-to-toe with them. So there's an expectancy there, but there should be, because we've proved it in the last 2 tournaments. But yeah, some of our top players are not playing well at the moment, which is a shame.
Considering we managed to scrape that draw against Germany when we're in such bad form, just goes to show we've got the players on paper. We've got the players. We've always had the players on paper to a level with England, but
all of those teams, Germany, Belgium, Italy, not made it. Holland, on the way back up, but not been great. Like a lot of these teams, Spain, they're all in a transition period. France, the same. Pogba's not going to the World Cup. They're all in a sort of a transition phase with a number of players. We should be, and we're keeping the majority of our players together. We should be firing. We should be on top of our form going into this World Cup, and it doesn't look like we're going to be.
We've got a great bunch of kids playing for us, and the fact of the matter is the manager isn't up to it. If we had a Terry Venables manager just now, as Bobby Robson, I'd really have high hopes for us. Even a Glenn Hoddle. Yeah. But under this manager, we're just so negative, and I just can't see us progressing as far as what this squad deserves to, really.
Daz, I would ask the question to you, but I know you're going to have 4 weeks off from the Newcastle break because obviously Ireland aren't at the World Cup.
Yeah, so. well, Richie, I was about to say I'm not looking forward from an Irish point of view, but I'm going to see how the Irish lads in the shape of Jack Grealish and Declan Rice get on. But I'm looking forward to Brazil, see how Brazil get on. And no, look, it's like the different styles of football. The games are on at 10, 1, 3, 7 o'clock in the day. So there's going to be games all over the place. It'll be it's a marathon, not a sprint. I think you used that word the other day, Alex. But it'll be just interesting to have something different going on. You also tune in and tune out with the World Cup as well. You can't watch all the games, but you'll try and catch as many as you can.
You've got to think of it another way. There's always a lot of good scouting goes on at the World Cup as well. There's always 5 or 6 new interesting players that set the tournament alight that end up getting decent transfers, or even just sort of middle ground transfers.
Like and Karl Popowski. Remember him? He went to Man United.
Al Hadji Diouf.
Well, yeah. So this is potentially, I was thinking more James Rodriguez, maybe a slightly better caliber, but maybe this could be one of the first times in a long time where we can look at players in a tournament playing well and consider them as signing options. We've never been able to really do that, have we? So this is the first time we're looking at a tournament going, I wonder if we could buy him.
Well, the last time we did that was Fabian Schär. We only got him because he had a cheeky low release clause because Deportivo had got relegated.
True, exactly. Richie, that's it for the questions, I think, is it?
I was just going to say that I think the perfect World Cup for us, really, I think Pete will probably agree with this, is that we do well, get to the semis or final, and James Maddison gets in the squad, picks up a knock, and misses the Christmas period too.
Dream scenario, and then signs for us on January the 1st.
There's one little thing that started. It's just basically off a nice comment off Adam. He just said, even the Loaded Bag Farm, I'm new to the Newcastle YouTube scene, so to see Alex and Billy from TTR have been great. All the best for the USA. And he just mentions about one thing from Southampton about the replacement of Joel Murphy at ASM. Adam, if you go back to the very start of the show, if you missed it, we did discuss it as the first talking point. So if you missed it, get back to the start and you can watch it to catch it there. There you go, Daz.
Nice one. And anyone that's watching, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that like button.
Just to add, I think we've had about 12, 15 new subscribers to the channel tonight. So absolutely spot on.
Yeah, any of our lot, if you're still kicking around, please do them a favor and subscribe and like if you've come over from the Toon Review. That'd be much appreciated.
Cheers, lad.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? We want to do a few things just to wrap up, and stay tuned because there's a new outro. none of the lads have seen this, so there's a new outro coming. So stay tuned for the end. Yeah, there's more surprises coming this week, Pete. Don't you worry about that. Yeah, look, I want to go to the lads first, and lads, tell us what's coming up on the Toon review during the week.
Well, that's a good question. I think we've got our preview show tomorrow, haven't we, Alex? And Toon TTR
Friday
preview
and TTR Friday,
TTR Friday on Friday, and then we've got the watch along on Sunday with Paul, and probably the review after that.
Cool. Well, you know where to find the lads, and Paul and Danielle as well. So make sure you hit their likes and subscribes as well. So yeah, just a shout out to our sponsors first. Then we'll tell you what's coming unloaded. Shout out to shyburns.com and the range that Simon has available. And there's some new stuff dropping pretty soon. Simon's actively working that, but also check out the Shy Burns merchandise, and also the loaded t-shirt in the normal one in multi different colors, and the away one also in loads of different colors. But there's new stuff coming, so stay tuned for that. Shout out to Pins and Prints and the items that it's available from Pins and Prints. Go check out the latest there on the site. Shout out to Machine House, Marty Machine House, and the wonderful t-shirts and hoodies that are available from Machine House. And as always, and I must put it at the bottom, if you want to purchase something, you can use the code. So the Loaded Mag code at the bottom. Also, shout out to the Geordie Royce and the t-shirts that are available from Dean on the Geordie Royce. I think it's black and white t-shirts there. You must check them out for the latest. And a shout out to our newest sponsors, Rust and the Radiator Shed. Let me just get rid of this here again, this discount code, so you can see it. And you know what? We like to put Alex and Billy in jail for this one. So the radiatorshed.com. Yeah, that suits them. But yeah, look, we've told you all about the Radiator Shed before. Go check out the website. Russ is dying to come on the show, and we'll probably get him on a loaded cube. We might have one next week, and we got Russ on that, and we'll go through the website and get it from the horse's mouth. But there's loads of lovely radiators from Russ. So that is from our sponsors. Coming up on Loaded. What day is today? Today is Wednesday, so it must be tomorrow, Pete. Tell us what's happening tomorrow.
Yeah, we're back. Away Days is back for another round. The MDV Mike is coming to join us again. I think it's going to be his hat-trick ball. He's coming to join us again. He's just sent me his predicted lineup for Sunday. That makes for some pleasant reading for us from what he thinks is going to be. But we'll talk all about it, and we may even see a combined 11. Let's see if it's as controversial as it was.
Walker Peters, throw him in. Nice. No, I'm looking forward to that battle. They're always good. Also, coming up on Loaded as well, on Sunday we'll have the reaction show. So Sunday evening we'll have that reaction show to the game, and hopefully we're toasting another win for Newcastle. So before we go out with the new outro, I want to say thanks to Alex and Billy for joining us. Shout out to Danielle and Paul as well. Couldn't make it with tonight, but we'll see them soon. But thanks a million, lads, for coming on. Great debut.
Absolute pleasure.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great.
Cheers, lads.
Rightio, we'll say goodnight to everyone, and I'll ask the question: how do you like that?
How you like drink it, make me then tell me if you like that, like that.